Getting some writing in today, hopefully. And also eating some pizza. Two things my heart is very fond of. Oh, my stomach's already growling. Oh, I need to eat. I need to eat this pizza. I believe it is not super crazy hot anymore. Oh, pretty good. Just so you know, a lot of times I talk with my mouth full. That's my thing. Can't help it. Another as an O in there. Pizza's so good. So good. $68 outside. Not a bad day. Some good stuff there, right there. Right there. I also got some coffee. Coconut coffee. Coconut caramel, maybe? I taste the coconut. I don't remember. Come on. Come on. Man, I can't spell. Worst thing is picking a name for a character and then you stumble over it literally every time. I'm writing a story. I have no idea where this thing's going. There, Nick, then. Writing on a Poetry Friday. I misread. Listen, I write a lot of different stuff. Poetry? Nah, not so much. Not so much at all. I don't read poetry. I don't write poetry. I'm going to be honest, I don't even like poetry. Poetry to me, unlikable. No likes at all. 0 likes. Poetry likes you. Mentions it in all the bathroom stalls. You know what? Probably. My luck, poetry is a dude. There's a mosquito. A big, big mosquito, too. $72 all of a sudden. Went from like 68 to 72 in like 6 minutes. There's a freaking mosquito out there trying to get in. I don't think so. Yeah, 72 degrees. It's going to be 75 today. I can't even open the windows. Life's just so hard. Peter Marsh in the house. Peter, tonight or tomorrow, I'm going to finally have cleared out the garage enough to pull that box of Forgotten Realms books. I'll shoot a video for you. See if you're interested. Nick says -11 here. Nick says as in below 0. Nick says as in frozen death. That sounds about right. That is ridiculous. Stay in the house. Peter Marsh says sounds good. I will check your OnlyFans for the video. Appreciate that. Me dancing around naked with Forgotten Realms books. I bet you I make a lot of money on that. He's saying you forget the Forgotten Realms. Huh. There's a huge box of them. It's got like 100 of them in it. The problem is it's buried under. There's so much other crap in front of that shelf. We still have. My wife's bringing home another box from work today. One of those plastic tubs, so we can fill up the rest of this Christmas crap and put it out there. But there's stuff that has to be moved down first, and then that would free up that box for 5 seconds. So I got to pull it out. Forgot, not forget. I didn't forget it. I didn't forgot it either. When we went out there last Saturday to clean, there was no way I was getting to it. And I was just lazy. And I was like, all right, you know what? We'll do this during the week. We didn't do it during the week. Chris Aquarius the second, not to be confused with Chris Aquarius, says, "What up, G? Sup?" That's all I got. That's all I got. Trying to get some writing. I'm writing a short story. Just started a couple days ago for a new magazine that just came out, I think. I don't remember the name of it. They want crime thrillers that are kind of quirky and humorous. I think I can do it. Chris said, looks are sick today, dog. Thank you, I think. Unless you're trying to punk me. Us kids still say that, right? I think that's coconut and caramel coffee. So anyway, I'm going to try to. The goal is to finish this short story. I'm about 800. I'm 808 words into it now. It can't be more than 3,000 words, which is fine. So my goal is probably around 2,500 words. My guy could pull any baddie with that drip. I don't even know what the hell you're even saying, Chris. But you know what? You're probably right. Chris, do you read famous folks like Dostoevsky or Kafka? Kafka. No. I was never a fan of the classics. I'm not. I read stuff that I enjoy. I've always read stuff that I enjoy. So the crap you had to read in school, most of it was boring. I had a brief semester in community college, and we had to read like Hemingway and stuff like that. And I was like, this is boring. I don't like any of this. So I just don't want to read it. I don't want to read boring. The only old stuff I've read was Edgar Allan Poe and Lovecraft. Horror stuff. That was it. When I was a kid, I read Dracula, I read Frankenstein, and I felt that they were outdated and boring, to be honest. Nick says, what about the classic Jordan Harper Lee? I've read a ton of Flannery O'Connor, whatever. I've read a ton of Southern Gothic. books. And then I've read a ton of crime thriller stuff, Raymond Chandler and Dashiell Hammett and all those, which I enjoyed. What about my boy D.H. Lawrence? No, don't believe I've ever read anything. Peter Marsh says, all right, fingers crossed. Let's see if my coworkers stop talking to me. Yeah, that would be nice. Put them on for a second, Peter. I'll have a conversation with them. Peter says, what are y'all talking about? Chris Aquarius II wanted to know if I've read Kafka or Dostoevsky or anything like that, which I said no. Broski, I'm a head out for a walk, just done a meal. All right. Thanks for popping in. Appreciate it. Do you talk like that in real life, or is that just your online talking? Mad props. Cannot spell this name. Peter Marsh says, I think it was mad sick when that bro turned into a cockroach in that Kafka book. Mad sick? Wow. I don't think I've ever read Kafka. Don't think I will. Chris says, before I go, I think you can have a thought about Kick streaming. That B word. Booming lately. Maybe streamers move into Kick. No, I'm old and I'm happy here. Building up the YouTube, monetizing, and I don't want to start another thing and worry about all that crap. But I appreciate your concern. Peter Marsh says Metamorphosis is the only one I read. Well, you're more well read than I am, apparently. Chris says, I then see you around, big dog. I'll see you around as well. Thanks for popping in. Appreciate it. Peter, you're more tech savvy than I am. This Chris, I'll call him Christopher, brings up Kick as another way to go live stream. So you know anything about it? Not that I want to learn anything new, but okay. I will. There's Mr. Frank. Peter says, I meant I will look into it. Okay. I could always use a fresh start with my channels. Well, you know what? You have till Sunday morning. I'm going to be quizzing you. Nick says, I hear the big dogs are on Kick. You know what? If anybody in this world would know, it's Nick. Ms. Frank said, this is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. Great. Now I got that song stuck in my head. I still remember the commercials for that from back in the day as well. The question is, does StreamYard have a connection to Kick? Well, that's a great question, I guess, which you're going to have to look up. I'm a little busy live streaming right now. Sorry for yelling. I hope I didn't upset any of the people trying to talk to you in the background. Pete says, on it. Thank you. I did tell you Sunday morning that Amanda Ward will be joining us, right? Mr. Frank says, Defuke is Kick. You just missed whatever his name was, Chris something or other. Chris Aquarius 2, not Chris Aquarius 1. Chris Aquarius 2 mentioned that all the cool kids were going over to Kick to do live streams. And I'm like, I don't know what that is, but Peter Marsh will figure it out. Peter says, you might have told me, but it was probably when my coworker was talking to me. Mr. Frank says, Benoit, as in Chris Benoit. We don't bring him up. Peter said, they just looked it up. StreamYard supports Kick. So maybe I can do Twitch, YouTube Live, and Kick. Ms. Frank says, well, the cool kids eliminated you from contention. That's hurtful. That's hurtful. One feeds the other. That would be okay. You know what? So after I'm done with this, I'm going to after I'm done with this, I'm going to probably watch this week's episode of Fallout. And then I will do a little bit of research on Kick, see what it is, see what I can do with it. And then jump over there and maybe build, who knows? Who can say? I just need money. I just need people to watch this crap. Money. I also have a video, book review video that I got to put up later on this afternoon. Ms. Frank says, like DMX said right before the dogfight, preacher telling the truth and it hurts. That is true. Words of wisdom by DMX. Peter says, episode 6 of Fall this season was really good. Well, if that was this week's episode, that's what I'll be watching this afternoon. No spoilers. Don't ruin it for me, Peter. It was. All right. Well, then that's what I'll be watching at 2:00 ish. My wife will be home in a decent hour tonight. I took out some chicken to thaw. Who knows what she'll whip up? Probably something with chicken, I would imagine. It does make sense. And then tomorrow, the two of us are home all day. And I got to help her finish cleaning out the garage, putting all this Christmas stuff back in the garage. Nick Zinn says, did you watch the Expedition Files for this week yet? I turned the channel during a commercial break and missed a segment. Of course I watched it. Of course I watched it. Which was this week again? As Frank said, Dreamland Resort and Uncanny Expeditions collaborated on an Area 51 trip. To see what? To see the, oh, here's the fence. Okay, what's the new thing about Bigfoot? Oh, okay. So they did Jeff Meldrum, rest in peace. I didn't realize that Jeff Meldrum had died until the end of that. They basically, Jeff Meldrum's dead. I was like, what? Me and my daughter met him when we did the Bigfoot conference in Ocala a couple of years ago. And he said that there are 12 different pockets of an average of 6 Bigfoot in each group in Florida. So there's 78 Bigfoot in Florida. That's what he said. Peter Marsh says, you went to a Bigfoot conference? I did a couple years ago because I was contracted to write a nonfiction cryptid book about Florida cryptids. And so I was like, you know what? This is coming up, and I'm going to write about the skunk ape. So I'm going to go and hang out and see these people. And my daughter made fun of everybody the whole time we were there. And I was like, shut up, you're going to get us killed. Literally, everybody was wearing camouflage. Everybody had at least one gun that you could see. And they had some weed distillery there. So everybody was buying weed, and everybody but me and my daughter were high as a kite. And Jeff Meldrum gave a big, 2-hour speech about Bigfoots and stuff. Anyway, it was the Patterson-Gimlin film. And most people think it was just a dude in a gorilla suit. I think it was a dude in a gorilla suit because I don't believe that there really are Bigfoot out there. Big feet. And so he is saying he got some AI dude who looked like he was 20 to basically throw it into filters in AI to get a clearer print of the because the original print disappeared. So it's like copy of a copy of a copy kind of thing. And Jeff Meldrum said the biggest surprise for him was if it was somebody in a suit, the muscles and everything wouldn't move the way it was. So you could actually see the muscles on the body moving, which you wouldn't be able to see if it was just some guy in a suit. So he believes it's a legit one. Most people think it's BS. One of the guys, Patterson, died years ago and on his deathbed swore it was real. The other guy is like in his, 70s now, and he's still walking around talking about Bigfoot and trying to make as much money as possible off that before he dies. You didn't really miss that much. Then I was like, holy shit, Jeff Meldrum died. So I immediately sent my daughter a message. I said, Jeff Meldrum died, and Chuck Buda, who's a huge fan of his. And Chuck's like, oh yeah, he died back in September. I said, I had no idea. And my daughter said, who? I said, the guy we saw talking about 78 Bigfoot in Florida. And she's like, oh, okay. All right, hold on. I got to answer a bunch of stuff here. Frank said, did you listen to that thing on the last podcast on the left about how dragon isn't the real dragon? I did not. I don't even know what you're even talking about. But now you're going to make me listen to that, aren't you? He's not the real dragon. He's a fake dragon? Puff the Magic Dragon? Yes, I answered you went to a Bigfoot conference from Peter. Nick Zinn said, did Bigfoot get him? Bigfoot kills more people than polio. He had brain cancer, he was only 67. Peter says, did that book get published? No. So here's what happened. They contacted me. Luckily, it was before all this AI crap several years ago, or I would have not believed it anyway. It was a Florida-based university press. And they have like presses all over. Every state they have a university. Anyway, the lady contacted me and she's like, she saw my St. John's River Monster book and she said, oh, no, that was before that. She saw like my Bigfoot books or something. And she's like, would you be interested? We need like a 60,000 word, book. And then I'm going to need illustrations for each creature, and can you come up with an outline for this? And I'm like, oh, yeah. And so I figured out which creatures: the skunk ape, St. John's River monster, on and on and on. And then she said, can you send a sample in? Can you write one of the chapters? And I was like, well, I was working on St. John's River Monster, the fiction book, for Severed Press at the time. So I did my research and I wrote up a thing, and then Michael O'Connell, I said to him, hey, would you be interested in doing this book? They'll pay you for your illustrations, but I need an illustration to send them. So he did one of the St. John's River Monster, which is supposedly up here in the St. John's River in Jacksonville. So he was he knew what it was. So he basically did a drawing of it. And then I sent in the full proposal with the chapter, with the picture. And then I heard nothing for like 2 months. And then I contacted back and I'm like, hey, you wanted this for like October of 2025. And, we're getting into like June or July now. And I got to still write this book. And then all of a sudden they came back and said, oh, that editor is no longer with us, and we are no longer interested in this book. So that was that. But I did a lot of research. So my St. John's River Monster book, I thought, came out better than it would have. So there's your answer. Nick says, if everyone was wearing camo, how could you see them? I could smell them because they all stunk like weed. Mr. Frank says, Patterson Gimlin is my men's adventure pen name. You know what? That makes sense. Chad Lusky says, happy Positive Friday. Happy Positive Friday for you, Chad. Mr. Frank says, I haven't met a Bigfoot researcher yet who doesn't believe in Bigfoot. That's weird, right? That's weird. Jeff Meldrum believed, but he also believed that there were so many hoaxes out there that you couldn't just automatically. Like, there's one guy who's on all those shows who leads some Pacific Northwest one, and everything is a Bigfoot to him. Everything is automatically a Bigfoot. Ms. Frank says, happy Chadlutsky Day to you too. Chad says, I feel like Hunter Shea's ears are ringing just because you're talking about Bigfoot, and we're talking about Hunter Shea, who stars in the 12th and final book in my Severed Press contract. Nick Zinn said, what did those jerks say about Dragon? Yeah, I gotta figure that out. What podcast was that on? I gotta write this down. Let me scroll up here. Last podcast on the left. Maybe I'll listen to that real quick. Then I'm going to watch this episode of Fallout. Chad says, happy Chadlutsky Day is next month on the 13th, but thank you. Peter says, oh no, Frank, it happened again. He responded to your jokes 5 minutes after you posted it. Yeah, there's a lot going on here. Ms. Frank says, so basically the real Dragon was a douchebag head of security during the Bigelow years. When the production team came in to shoot the series, they heard the stories about the guy and said, we have to have a Dragon. The Dragon on the show isn't any kind of security. He's just Brandon's friend who he wanted to be on the show. That does track though, right? That does track. He was in the beginning of Skinwalker Runs. He was very negative about everything. No, we can't dig. We need to call Brandon. We can't dig on this or that. Peter Marsh says, "Oh, that wasn't a joke." I don't know what you're even talking about. Peter says, "How can a creature like Bigfoot exist and not a single one has been captured by humans at this point?" Ms. Frank says, "Armand, I sent the link in the group chat. There's no links that come up in the group chat for me. If you email it to me, that would be nice. Really nice." Ms. Frank says, "Totally tracks." Nick says, "But if dragon isn't real, then what is? Maybe Bigfoot isn't either. I need to lie down." You should lie down. So there's no dragon and there's no Bigfoot. Mr. Frank says, "And he hates being called dragon as much as you hate calling him dragon." I wonder if he'll be back on the show this year. Or they'll just get a new dragon. Seawalls Writer says, "Happy Friday." Happy Friday to you as well. Mr. Frank said, to clarify for Nick, dragon is real, but he's not really dragon. Nick says, "Armand likes to being called dog now." Yeah, I do. Apparently, Chris Aquarius II like calling me dog. Big dog. Don't call me dog. Big dog. I don't even know who that was. If he talked like he knew me, I don't even know who it was. Oh, we got a bunch of people in today. This is nice. This is nice, big dog. You came in late, Chad. You missed me eating my personal pizzas. Personally, they were pizzas. Where am I? I'm over here. Nick says, "Maybe he needs a spinoff show." Hi, I'm Dragon. You know what? Maybe. Yeah, I find it very hard to believe that we haven't found anything except for footprints from Sasquatch, which most of them are hoaxes anyway. So I don't believe that there is a creature out there until I can see that creature. Till you show me. You know what I'm saying? Everybody thought, oh, giant squid. Those things don't exist. Then we find giant squids. Okay, you know what? Now I believe in giant squid. Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti? No. Not one body. Not one skull. Not one femur. Give me a damn femur. I'm positive we need a Bigfoot femur to go. There it is. Whoop. There it is. Ugh. Nick says, "I believe the children are the future." You know what? Obviously. Miss Frank, last update on the left, episode 11, Dragon Talk starts at 45:30. All right. Let me write that down. Episode 11, 45:30. That way I don't have to listen to 45 minutes of non-dragon talk. The hell wants that? Cannot spell today. I mean, the writers really need to know how to spell. As Frank says, "Oh no, Frank, it happened again." He responded to your joke 5 minutes after you posted it. As Frank says, "Yes, Pookie." I can't help it that there's a delay, and I'm also working here. The goal here is to write brilliant words, hundreds, thousands of them. Someday I'll be so rich with my writing again, I won't have to talk to any of you people. As Frank says, that's the fun of it. Exactly. Exactly. It's like I don't know what that means. 5 minutes ago, I don't know. I don't even remember what it meant then. Can't keep pointing it out though, Peter Marsh. Getting all upset and mad about it. Peter says, sorry. Peter says, I'm just counting down the minutes until this workday is done. I would imagine you still got some time left in the day. Nick Zinn says, breaking news out of Wisconsin. The lineup for Bratfest 2026 has been posted. Big names this year. Lovin' Spoonful. I'm hoping you're starting with the bottom of that list. I'm hoping that's not the big name. Sugar Hill Gang. Which Sugar Hill Gang? Sugar Hill Gang is like nobody actually from Sugar Hill Gang in the band anymore. It's the producer who basically hired a couple of guys. Didn't you see that documentary? Peter Marsh says you got 3 hours and 20 minutes left. That's insane. Speaking of insane, Nick says CNC Music Factory. Mr. Frank says Brats in Hell. Nick Zinn says Great White. Great White is playing with those bands. That's pretty funny. And again, not Jack Russell because he's dead. I bet you none of those bands have original members. Or one. Slaughter too, Nick says. Wow. Is it the death metal band from Canada or is it Mark Slaughter? Mr. Frank said, it's been my life's mission to see CNC Music Factory and Great White on the same bill, right? Like, let's name two bands that would work so well together. One of the dancers for CNC Music Factory, little trivia for you. One of the dancers for CNC Music Factory worked with Vern Shank uh, for a number of years. The guy's also a singer, and apparently they work together on a bunch of music and whatnot. That guy lives down here in Jacksonville or St. Augustine or something. I met him. Nice guy. That was his big claim to fame. Vern's like, this is so and so. He was one of the dancers in the CNC Music Factory video. Like, oh wow, oh okay, wow. Nick says, to quote the website, Slaughter has shown that with perseverance and sheer talent, a band can survive and win over the support of fans, regardless of what others may say about the quality of their music. Is that the Canadian band or is that the Mark Slaughter band? Mr. Frank says, gonna make you sweat. Yeah, till you bleed. Is that dope enough? Indeed. Oh, Mark Slaughter. Okay, I didn't know which Slaughter we're talking about. So I heard a couple more songs. If Chad's still on, I'm sure he's going to argue with me. I heard a couple more songs from the Megadeth album, and I heard his version of Ride the Lightning. His voice is shot, and I'm not impressed. That's all I'm going to say about it. As Frank says, Nick, that sounds like a direct response to their Guitarverse Science doc. Nick says he covered Metallica. Well, he was one of the writers for the song Ride the Lightning. So he recorded as a bonus track for his last album. And now he's doing the Sebastian Bach thing, begging his former band to not to get back together, but to we need to do a tour together, because Megadeth's like, listen, this is our last tour for 5 years. We're going to tour for the next 5 years, and we would like us to play with Metallica in full circle, and we can all become friends again, kind of thing. Peter Marsh says there's a new Megadeth album, their last album, the last Megadeth album, and it's he I don't like it. Nothing I've heard I don't like his vocals. It sounds very strained, and I'm like, that's in the studio, and you don't really sound all that good. And I'm not a big fan of it. Nick says, oh, it was that old of a song. Yeah, I mean, it's their second album, but a bunch of that stuff had been written before they threw him out of the band. The weird part is they talk about how Kirk Hammett did the guitar solo, obviously, on the Ride the Lightning. And if you listen to the Dave Mustaine version, it's that guitar solo. I'm like, why wouldn't he play the guitar solo? He might not even remember what his guitar solo was. You know? I answered my own question. Thank you. Yeah, I heard I listened on Spotify this morning because somebody was talking about how great the new Megadeth, the last album was, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no. Miss Frank says, new Megadeth doc out today in like 6 theaters. Six theaters in the Amboys. Spelled her name wrong again. Chad says, I stepped away for a few minutes. Are we talking about Ride the Lightning? Listened to it first thing this morning. Twice. I also listened to it this morning. I was not impressed. I was not impressed with his vocals. I mean, the music is just same music. But I have not been impressed with any of the Megadeth songs from this album so far. Ms. Frank says, no life to leather. Exactly. It's and plus you're like, oh, this is our last tour. It's our last time on our last tour, but we're going to tour for 5 years. All right. Ms. Frank says, this is our last tour until I run out of money. Chad says, there have been a few songs I've liked on the album, and I can understand his issues with his hands. I haven't toured the world and written as many songs as he has, and I'm younger, but I can't play as fast as I could in my 20s and 30s. You still have other people in the band and studio musicians who could, I don't know. Not a fan. It's like the Scorpions. Remember, like 30 years ago, the Scorpions retired? No more tours, no more albums. That was 5 albums ago. They're touring. I saw a video of them on YouTube. Man, I mean, they're just old. You know, they're like in their 120s now. His voice is shot. Like, why are we still doing this? Because you guys all pissed away all your money in the 80s. That's why. Because you have nothing to show for it, and you have no other skill in your life, so you have to keep going out there and playing shows. Like CNC Music Factory. Mr. Frank says, seriously though, didn't Mustaine beat throat cancer or something? Yeah, I know he had all kinds of health issues, his hand, and he had a whole bunch of stuff. Which is why he retired originally many years ago. Nick says, sounds like a bad AI version of Mustaine singing. Exactly. Yeah. He just doesn't have the pipes anymore. He's pipeless. Semi-pipeless. Nick says, maybe I shouldn't complain since it was a bonus track and I didn't pay for it. Oh, you didn't pay the $2,600 for it like you did for the Vinnie Vincent album? Chaz, did you guys sound like the entitled kids in a blabbermouth comment section who haven't worked a day in their life? Here's what I know. I have ears, and they don't lie. You can love it all you want. That's you. A lot of stuff you like that I do not like. There's a lot of stuff that I like that you do not like. It's all an opinion. I hope the man sells millions of dollars worth of albums, and I hope he has a wonderful 5-year tour. And then I hope he doesn't do like every other band and go, well, we're going to put out one more album. Nick says that Vinnie Vincent album was worth every cent. Now I have to go work the corner to pay for the bonus tracks. I would at least like to hear one of the Vinnie Vincent songs to see what he even sounds like. Is he still doing the Boys Are Gonna Rock kind of stuff? I know he was doing after he lost his contract and the rest of the band was like, let's go do Slaughter. I know he was doing like movie soundtrack stuff, but I don't know if any of them actually made it into movies, which is interesting. It just seems interesting to me. I'm going to guess at some point somebody is going to leak one of those songs, right? If he actually makes the money he thinks he's going to make, which I can't imagine is going to happen. I can't imagine it's going to happen. I'm eating pizza. I ate pizza. Now I'm getting 400 pizza emails. I already had pizza. Which pizza can a man have in one day? I would actually eat pizza tonight. If my wife wasn't coming home, I'd be like, I'm going to eat another thing of pizza. Just as whatever mental thing Kanye has, Vinny has it too. Yeah, it's and I mean, at this, let's be honest. At this point, does anybody care? Maybe some super loyal Kiss fans. That's about it. I can't imagine anybody else is like, oh, can't wait to hear this new Vinny Vince. Oh, I'm definitely paying for this. Speaking of which, my Kickstarter is still live, and I have like 300 out of the $1,000. So somebody feel generous and do it. As Vinny acts Kamesh, he just looks like your he looks like your the aunt on your dad's side that nobody ever talks to, and she always brings potato salad with her to an outdoor event. That's my take on it, anyway. Outdoor event. I mean, yeah, that's a little specific, but makes sense. Chet says he was wearing a woman's pantsuit in full makeup like the alcoholic aunt. Yeah. Who made the potato salad? Aunt Kathy. Exactly. That dude is just cray cray. That's what us young kids say. We say that. He just cray. Oh, Nick Zinn commented on a. Thank you for commenting, Nicholas, on an older video. Hopefully, it moves it up in the algorithms. Rhythm of the night. Seawall's writer says, I'm a big Kiss fan, but don't care that much for the new Vinnie Vincent, especially not at that price. Yeah, it seems ridiculous. Hey, when his first album came out, I was a big fan. Me and my brother, we were in California. It's 1989. 1989. We're out in California. We're going to Disney or Universal or something. I don't know. We took a vacation and we're driving around. I was like, no, it was 1987. So I'm like 17. My brother's like 15 or 16. And we're just driving around through somewhere. And there's a Tower Records. And on the marquee, it says, 2 p.m. Vinnie Vincent Invasion signing. And we were like, holy shit, can we go? My parents were like, yeah, we'll just drop you off and then we'll just come back. So we had our, me and my brother had our leather jackets. I'm sure we had our Judas Priest or Iron Maiden t-shirts on. And we get in line, this big, we go into the record store and they have a stack of the Vinnie Vincent albums. So we buy an album. We go and get in line with 100 other people. And a kid behind me, this little Asian guy with his hair all over, he looked like he was in Loudness. He's wearing one of those Motley Crue, the Too Fast for Love, but with the handcuffs one. Looked like he made it himself. And he's behind us, and he's like, why are you guys wearing leather jackets? It's 90 degrees out. And we just ignored him. And then somebody's like, oh, they're used to hanging out in the mall or something. And I was like, well, that was mean. And then we get up there, and there's the band, and it's Mark Slaughter now is in the band. So he signs the back of the album. He signs it right over, what was it, Robert Fleischman? He signs it right over the guy's face, which is funny. And they're like, are you going to the show in Long Beach? Because they were opening for Iron Maiden. And my brother, for some reason, says, we're from New Jersey. And then Vinnie Vincent looks at him and chuckles and goes, well, that don't mean you can't come to the fucking show. And then we were pushed along. So that was my encounter with Vinnie Vincent back in the day. And then we had the album, and then there was this dude, what was it called? Rainbow Rock in Bricktown, New Jersey. It was a music store. They had albums. I sold them tons of anytime I bootlegged a concert, I sold them a copy of it, and then they made copies of it. And the dude who was their main buyer, huge Kiss fan. I mean, Kiss tattoos all over his body. And we told him we had the Vinnie Vincent signed, and he's like, I'll give you $1,000 for it right now. And my brother's like, no way. I mean, my brother always talk about, man, when we were like 18, 19 years old, that $1,000 would have been really nice. And that album is probably worth about $5 now with those signatures on it. Chad says, I saw him in concert and don't remember a thing about it, and I was sober. Ms. Frank said, what's the video topic this week? Ms. Frank says, class act. I'm not sure what the video thing will be for Sunday. I have a list of about 15 different things, and maybe somebody will give me something really good to talk about, and I will. I was thinking about doing one about Severed Press, but I want to get this last book out to them first, and then I think I'll hold off on that one. But there's a few ideas on this list. I know I have I finished Roughneck by Jim Thompson, and I shot that video yesterday. And so I want to, that will probably go up this afternoon or probably tomorrow, since definitely won't be on live tomorrow. So I probably will put that up tomorrow. And then me and my wife tonight or tomorrow are going to do one together. I always get really, really good views whenever my wife is on, because people don't want to look at me. And we're going to do The Rip, the Ben Affleck, we're going to do a movie review, Ben Affleck, Matt Damon movie. How I started my own published company. Hold on. That's a good one, Frank. Chad says, going to come out of retirement to put out a collection of shorts, but each story costs $200. Pirating sites are forcing my hand. There you go. If you did them for $500 each, but you put one of the Vinnie Vincent songs with the story, you and Vinnie would both be billionaires. Billionaires. As Frank says, would you believe me if I told you I started my own publishing company from my bedroom? My name is Armand Rosamilia, and I'm going to tell you how. You know what? I like that. I like that a lot. Would you believe they put a man on the moon? Man on the moon. Chad says, comes with a recipe for potato salad and a bottle of vodka. Two big things in Vinnie Vincent's life still, probably. I might not do 2 hours today. I've done over an hour. I gotta write this in here. All right. I said, all right. Hooah. You know what? I'm going to go to the bathroom. But to talk amongst yourselves. If anybody new pops in, I'm like, where the hell is he? Oh, he's taking a caca. All right. What did I miss? Whew. Pooping and crying, Mr. Frank says. Frank says, this is what community is all about, people. You got it. Nick Zinn said, I get up for 1 second, come back to this. You shouldn't have gotten up. Did Bigfoot jump in and drag him off? No, but Bigfoot came out. Nick said, Dragon came by with a job resume to guard his house. I would hire him. Nick says, a new animal showed up on the doorstep for Shelly to adopt. That's not even funny. Don't even jinx me. Miss Frank says, this plays well on YouTube later. Oh, yeah. People are like, when's he coming back? Let's take bets. I don't care. I remember Jay Wilburn was trying to get monetized on Twitch back in the day. And he was very close. And he was like, all right, I got to go to the bathroom. I don't want to get off. And then he was literally gone for like 45 minutes. And in his mental state on that day, he forgot he was on. He went to the bathroom. He went into the kitchen. He sat down. He was watching a little television. And he's gone for like 45 minutes. And there were people coming and going, still in, talking on the Twitch feed, in the chat, wondering where it was. And I was on for a point of that. And I remember right in the middle of all that, he hit his goal, I forget what the goal was for Twitch. He hit the number of subscribers or minutes, or whatever it was. And then he was eligible. He's like, I didn't even do anything at the end. Which I thought was funny. One time me and my wife were coming back. It might have been from like Scares That Care or something. It was a long trip. She was driving. And I was like, I'm tired. I'm gonna take a nap. She's like, take a nap and then we'll switch. I'll take a nap and then you'll drive. And so I put the seat back. I fall asleep. And I was woken up. She was playing music. Normally it doesn't bother me at all. But that Walking on Sunshine song was on. And I don't know. I woke up so pissed. And I'm like, can you turn this shit off? And she was like, what? And I was like, this song, could you turn this off? And then she just turned the radio off, and she was really annoyed at me because I was very mean about it. But I don't know why. I don't know in my dream, maybe it was interrupting a dream or something. I don't know. I was so mad. And then, of course, now that's several years ago, and every time that song comes on, if we're in the car or something, she's just like, oh, you're going to yell at me now? I was like, no, but turn it off. I hate this song. I don't know where that came from. Just telling some stories. See, I could just go like, hey, I'm done. And then it's kind of like when you watch a show. Classic Jay. When you watch a show, and then like my wife, we watch Tracker when it's on. They cut the season in 2 parts because of football, which I think is stupid. Anyway. And at the end of the episode, it's all wrapped up real nicely, and then they say whatever they say. They say something. They say words, which leads you to believe that there's more of the show coming. And then they do like 10 minutes of commercials, and then it's on the next episode of Tracker. And that always just annoys me. So it'd be like right now if I'm like, yeah, all right, so I'm going to go after I just went to the bathroom for 10 minutes, and now I told a Katrina and the Waves story. I think that was the band. Now I'm just going to go. I mean, you can't really do that in all good conscience. I probably will do another 10 minutes or so. Nick Zinn says, worth the wait. Exactly, Nick. That's what I'm talking about. Worth the wait. Worth waiting the weight in gold. Nick, did you watch Expedition X, the episode last night? Me and Chuck were arguing. Chuck's like, I haven't watched it since they get rid of Chobot. And I'm like, you know what? I like Heather. And then Chuck says, she's like Two-Face from that Seinfeld episode. In certain light, she looks really good. And I said, you know what? I agree with that. when she's got her makeup on and her hair is done, like before they go anywhere, I'm like, she looks really pretty. She's got a great butt on her. Great butt. But then after like, hey, it's 3:00 in the morning and we've been out here hunting for Bigfoot, then she don't look all that good. Phil, now on the other hand, he just looks delicious no matter what you do with him. Nick says, did she scream about nothing leading into every commercial break? Leading into every commercial break, yeah. So I'm going to give you a spoiler alert. Last night's episode or Tuesday, this week's episode, something comes at her and she screams, and then we go to commercial break. And then we come back, it's just a bat. Just basically a bat flying. Mr. Frank says, have you CERM Amy positive from doing YouTube thumbnails? Have you seen any? Yeah, my numbers in the last, so it's, everything is 5 days ago. So the numbers that it's saying I have, like right now, it's saying I have like, I don't know, 4,700 followers, but it's really closer to 5,000. But the last 5 days, they're not counting yet because they're verifying or whatever. But I can still see what those numbers are. And in the last 2 days, I've almost doubled my my watch hours and my subscribers. So I think it's definitely working. And it also helps them because I'm putting them together beforehand. So I'm like, oh, you know what? What's the name of today's episode? And I'm gonna put that one up. Oh, writing on a positive Friday. Boom! I put the new thumbnail up. I'm still going back through all the old ones, but only like a few a day when I get a moment. Peter Marsh says, Mr. Frank must be in his car. Mr. Frank says, yup. He's got to drive to Wawa and get the whatever that coffee was I got yesterday. That was pretty good, that coffee, Mr. Frank. That was a good call. That was a really good call. That was a good cup of coffee. All right. Nick says, likely rocking out to Walking on Sunshine again. More than likely. Mr. Frank said, I did get that coffee at Wawa. Yeah. Peter Marsh says, I went to my grocery store, Heb, during my break today. There was no milk, no eggs, and a ton of people were shopping. This is all because they are anticipating some ice on the road on Sunday. Wow. Nick Zinn said ice truckers could get that stuff back to the grocery store. Yeah, exactly. Hire them. I've never seen that show. I mean, at some point, I'm like, 10 seasons? Let me just binge watch this thing. Frank, how much snow are you supposed to get on Sunday? I'm going to be honest, we're not supposed to get any snow. Let me see what the temperature is going to be, though. It might be crazy temperature. Holy crap. Sunday is going to be a blistery high of 80 degrees here. Blistery. Well, Monday high of 57. Tuesday high of 50. Wednesday high of 53. 46 is the high next Friday. 31 is the Thursday night, 27 degrees. This is outrageous. Nick says, neither have I, but I can guess it has icy roads. I've seen some of the commercials, so I think there are icy roads. Peter says, my friend who lives in New Jersey says they're supposed to get a foot of snow this weekend, which means it'll just rain. Anytime you're looking forward to snow, it just rains in New Jersey. When you don't want it, 14 feet of snow. As Frank says, 7 to 10, they are saying 10 to 13, North Jersey. Peter says, I agree with you on that. Peter says, I would love to not have work on Monday. There you go. You get a light dusting of snow. Everybody will lose their shit. No work. There was a substitute teacher here in Jacksonville at the elementary school. I believe it was not Amanda Ward. I immediately looked, and she was found passed out in the staff bathroom, and she had been snorting fentanyl during the school day. I guess she couldn't handle a bunch of third graders or whatever. Actually, the school that's the closest elementary school to us. I don't have any kids in there, but that's Maisie. What that cat is doing behind you might get you demonetized on YouTube. She does this. She chews her nails. It's really disgusting. You could hear her chewing the nail, biting her nails off. Peter Marsh says, oh, wow. Nick says, did they give her a raise and promotion after her bathroom nap? Yeah. Oh, you're a full-time teacher now. I thought that was kind of nutty. This area of Jacksonville is called Ocean Way. And then everybody's like, well, it's an Ocean Way. What do you expect? Like, shut up. Punch you in the head. Head punches. What are you doing? Chewing on your elbow? Cats have elbows. Don't look at me like that. So you didn't realize you were going to get weather and the news today. I need everybody to hit the subscribe or the resubscribe button on Twitch, and also hit the subscribe button on YouTube. I appreciate it. And watch a bunch of videos. I'm going to be honest with you. I would appreciate that too. Nick says, I hope those Jersey folk don't get trapped under ice. Yeah. Frozen in ice, even. They're used to it. I mean, not like the Milwaukeeans. You got to pick like now to clean yourself. She's one of these goofy cats that falls off chairs all the time. Mr. Frank says, great book. Very, very solid book. Frozen in ice. Nick says, can't dig many holes when the temperature is less than 0. You can stick dynamite on the ground and blow it up, though. That'd be pretty neat. And I get a voicemail, and I'm sure it is garbage. Yep. Hi. We'd like to give you $69,000 for your loan. Call me back. This is Denise. Call me back at your convenience at 855-555-5555. Nick says, dynamite doesn't work the same. My neighbors get annoyed with my science experiments. You know what? Blow them up. But I didn't say that. If you actually do go out and blow them up, I don't want to be implicated. All right, I'm probably going to go like another minute. That's an hour and a half. Good enough. I'm probably not going to write anymore. I need to watch this video about Dragon. and then listen to this video, whatever the hell it is, podcast, and then I need to go watch this week's episode of Fallout. I really need to do the dishes too. The dishes are piling up. If my wife gets home and she's like, you were supposed to do the dishes. How am I supposed to cook this chicken if there's nothing to cook it in? Because I haven't done dishes in like 3 days, and I've used a lot of skillets. I want to thank everybody for hanging out with me though today. I want to thank people who are going to be watching this later on, and I also want to thank anybody who is hitting the subscribe button and helping me to live my dreams. Nick says, I know you're all about the videos, but podcasts are like YouTube without the videos. I don't understand that concept. I need to look at something while I'm listening, or what's even the point of that? All right, everybody. Thank you for hanging out. Appreciate it. I will see you Monday. I will see you Monday. Some of you will be snowed in and you will have nothing else to do. Hopefully you'll have power and you can charge all your phones so you can still hang out with me. Miss Frank says, how I don't wash the dishes and get myself in trouble. Great video title. Thank you. I'll add that to the list.